Some of the world's most powerful tech leaders are being called to testify before a panel of international lawmakers later on this year. The committee is demanding to hear from tech giants as it investigates disinformation, fake news, and election meddling around the world. The hearing is scheduled for May 28th in Ottawa, Canada. So CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates broke the story and is joining me now. Thank you so much for joining us, Graham. So we've got this committee. Just how significant is this? Because I don't think I've heard of anything like this before.
It's fair to just say it's unprecedented. I mean, how often do you hear about parliaments from around the world getting together because they all have similar grievances with the same set of companies?
Right.
They decided at some point, these companies aren't meeting with us because we're smaller countries. We need to just get together and say, we have now a huge population under our wing, and we want to meet with you because of all of the problems we're experiencing.
All right, guess what they're about to do in Russia? This is fascinating as well. They're going to flip the off button on the internet. Turn it off. No internet for you. Sounds like a Seinfeld episode, right? It also sounds a little crazy. Wait before you start calling Rachel Maddow and Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper and telling them, aha, there's another Russiagate story I got for you, right? You should know that Russia is announcing this themselves. They say it's a measure that they're using as a one-time strategy to try and prepare the country for the eventuality of any kind of potential cyber attack.
Kamala Harris's comments from her radio interview with The Breakfast Club are sparking controversy.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
and I inhaled. I did inhale. It was a long time ago.
Harris explains her pro-pot stance and admits that she indulged in the substance while in college. Then this exchange happened.
What does Kamala Harris listen to?
What were you listening to when you was high? What was on? What song was on?
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac, for sure.
Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have reached a settlement. You might remember the former 49ers quarterback and Eric Reid, currently with the Carolina Panthers, filed a grievance with the NFL, alleging that team owners conspired, colluded to keep them out of the game over their protest. It was back in 2016 that Kaepernick famously started his kneeling protest during the national anthem as a way to protest racial and social injustices, and things just took off from there. Well, today we got a statement from both parties saying they'd reached the settlement and it's subject to a confidentiality agreement. They won't be speaking about it anymore, but that doesn't mean that all of you are remaining silent. We've had so many comments and shares since we first posted this on our 11 Alive Facebook page. So let's take a look at what you guys are saying. David saying that the NFL bought Kaepernick's silence with this one.
Exclusive interview with Jussie Smollett. He's answering questions about his story for the first time.
He really is, George, and the incident has sparked both an outpouring of support as well as questions about what happened that night on a cold Chicago street. Jussie was very passionate in his account, detailing the racist and homophobic words he says his attackers used, words that we cannot broadcast. Here's the first part of Jussie telling his story.
I'm saddened today to think of those who did not survive and whose families will forever live with the knowledge that their death and suffering was preventable.
What was done?
Telling you,
baby, he be saying it like I'm a problem.
Oh, you have been a problem.
Well, Steve, okay.
What was it? Let's go.
Let's go.
You started getting labeled as difficult.
Yes.
Why do you believe that happened, and do you see that changing, and why?
I got labeled as difficult, my husband and I. And my husband is Sydney, who happens to be my manager. We got labeled as difficult because I said one word, and that was no. Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey.
Well,
Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is the channel which I report, articulate, transmit, communicate, articulate, relay, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether by news, video, websites, or quotes from publications. As I articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, mind, soul, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created the so-called greatest land in this planet that they call the BADOS, we give honor on this channel. And my motto is, I'm not going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. That's right, y'all. Back again, once again, it's on. Well, took a little day off, was doing some things, trying to get it situated, getting prepared for the show, you know, because again, you know, due to the way that they got me, right, makes it a little, I think the whole aspect of the suspension is trying to make it an inconvenience. No, you're just making cream rise to the top. You get what I'm saying? Don't you know diversity, right? Matter of fact, before I get into all that, remember the last part I said diversity, right? And I probably don't mean, well, we'll get back to that. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to say, what's good to subscribers out there? Well, a couple of you come in and you leave. I guess what happened is you subscribe, go into the catalog, you thought it was all going to be sweet, go in there saying some things you probably didn't like. Well, again, that's how it is. Truth don't need no partner, right? So it ain't for everybody. A lot of times you come in here, you come for the glitz and the glamour, but when it comes to a certain aspect about things, you see yourself not part of it, so you walk up out of here. It's all good with me over here because it ain't made for everybody, right? Sometimes the truth just ain't made for everybody. So, first and foremost to my subscribers, what's good, fam? Newer subscribers, welcome. Passerbyers, it's always a grand opening here on Mr. Blows Your Mind Show, which is also Black Minds TV, which we also do Black Minds News, right? So, you can go down the aisle, see something you like, go ahead and shop by hit that like button. See something you don't like, got to complain about something, hit the comment section. And if you don't, if you should do that, we should send out a supervisor, manager. Maybe we can work something out, give you a discount, the IOU. Maybe get on your return. You might come back and find something you like and give us something in exchange for your time. Agents, ain't nothing to say. It's all said and good, right? You don't pay no attention to you. Because you're doing what you got to do, right? You hoping I make that other move. I ain't going to make that move. Why am I going to make that move for? For what? You already ain't got no justification of what you did. You're just doing it because you can do it, right? Okay, you can do what you do. But don't be mad when I show it all. When I put it all. I know you went and going in there and trying to hide the videos and all that stuff, but it's all good. Because again, I'm better than you. Now, again, as I was saying, you know, I said diversity, but I meant to say adversity, right? Adversity, right? We go through a lot of adverse situations. Again, they said like putting a certain substance through the fire to determine what kind of material it's made from. So again, what's happening is those in the black corner are going to be going through the fire to determine what kind of material you really made of. What are you talking about, Mr. Blows? Well, you know, some people try to downplay what we do over in this black corner, trying to say that, you know, it's a bunch of riff-raff and ruffians and, the dredge of this country, and they're actually trying to stir up the natives, right? Is we staring up the natives, or are we trying to, again, as all nations have accordingly the again, what it says, there's self-preservation, right? Self-preservation is to be informative, to try to bring our people out of certain mindsets that are detriment to them being in the dark, is to bring light to assist them. And it seems that because we're trying to bring light to assist our people, that there's a lot of people outside of the pale who observe, as they said, this, of those who read the book. The book said, let us go down. Let us go down. Remember that part in the book? You know, those who know what I'm talking about. Let us go down there and prohibit them for what they do, because they might build up to heaven. That interpretation of what you read made it seem like you think God came down there to destroy what they were doing. No. That is that which you do not see, who is observing from the tower and seeing what's being done, and are saying, you know what are these doing down there? They're stirring up the lumpen proletariats there, and we must put a stop or some kind of hindrance in their ability. And so the powers that be are doing things that you would probably not be aware of if it wasn't for shows like Black Minds TV. Now again, I am a black media outlet for those who do come and be patronized here, right? Be avid watchers of the show, or maybe you might even be a hater that just come over just to be over here, right? And so it's incumbent that we have certain of our people on the tower who are observers and watchers, right? That must blow and give sound and sirens and yell loud and cry aloud that things are, people are congregating. So, you know, again, in the black corner, the ADOS, DOS, I say BADOS. Some has even got Native Black American DOS. I mean, you know, there's a lot of different titles. Again, as the last video that I did was given not to show again. The video before that, there were some people who might have felt offended by thinking that I was trying to exclude them by saying, again, those who would not be in alliance to what those who would be considered the natives, the American blacks, the black Americans of this nation, and the atrocity of history that has been, you know, attributed to our existence here. And when you try to step over the boundaries and not respect that, it is incumbent on us to actually, again, not to so much reprimand you, but we call it pulling your card, right? Check you, chin check you, right? To, again, to get your attention to, again, some of you here, based on whatever reasons you are here, as a guest in the house, you take your shoes off at the door, right? Take your hat when you come inside. You ask, where's the washroom at, right? Things of that, right? That's just being courtesy in the house of somebody who you're visiting. Yes, you may end up being a guest that may be able to be temporarily staying, right? And even with that, if you should get a permanent status, you should not trample on the people who attributed that access that you have. Don't forget where it came from. So at times we must say that in order to be a reminder, but not again to divide. See, again, I love black people, period. But when I hear people saying things, and then again, some people cannot maybe articulate that with the strength and vigor at times that need to be said, and sometimes talking soft don't get the job done. So sometimes you may have to say things in a way to get the attention, to get the real emphasis behind the message. Now again, for those who were affected by it, and then you should trickle your way back, understand. That's why I laid out the last video, because again, it was to show that even though as a fam of the entirety, depending on the nation of origin of where you came from, there is a history and there is possibly a claim if you're willing to put in that work. Now we here as the BADOS, the ADOS, the DOS, right? We have been the lineage of the work that was laid originally, and we are still putting in work in the present. And so again, as those things are trying to make waves and congregate and try to set up for the position, because again, this is the political season, and those that will be coming asking for certain people's participation, for their support, those people who in the political realm are setting up so that again, we're not just given a promise that we can't hold your feet to the fire to, right? So let's get into what I was talking about as those behind the scenes who are congregating, making moves, again, because the power of social media, the power of the people, people in all that has been transpired through the history of the oppression, certain aspects of society believe that these people are without any understanding, without any pure knowledge. You know, they say steel sharpens steel, right? So that means if I'm in the vicinity, rubbing next to, having affiliations with, if you're sharp, it's only of a matter of time that my abrasion, my rubbing, my, continuous of having conflict or infliction with you, I can only get sharpened. So again, these things that are manifesting are things that are unseen. This is the creator, as we say, manifesting certain aspects of his ability, knowledge, and wisdom, the greatest chess player of them all. And so when you seen the opportunity of what you laid forth as a way to, as you say, www, and maybe you said that web is to encapsulate everybody else, it also can entangle oneself, right? So they decide that they have to come together, and let me show you what I'm talking about, because again, if somebody wasn't watching, you wouldn't know. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over across to another country, right? I'm going to take you over to another country, because over here is a news source. We will go wherever the news take us, right? We would go over there. And so again, you know what I always say, if it starts in somewhere there, eventually it becomes to a neighbor country near you. So let's see what happened, see how the show gonna start off, and let's see, yeah, let's do this, let's get it.
All right, guess what they're about to do in Russia? This is fascinating as well. They're going to flip the off button on the internet. Turn it off. No internet for you. Sounds like a Seinfeld episode, right? It also sounds a little crazy. Wait, before you start calling Rachel Maddow and Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper and telling them, aha, there's another Russiagate story I got for you, right? You should know that Russia is announcing this themselves. They say it's a measure that they're using as a one-time strategy to try and prepare the country for the eventuality of any kind of potential cyber attack. So that's the explanation. Yulia Shapovalova reports.
The test should take place before April 1st. The government has to make sure that any content transferred from organization to organization, from user to user, does not go beyond the borders of Russia and is not available to other countries. Under this test, Russian internet service providers would have to redirect web traffic originating in the country to routing points approved or managed by the government's telecom watchdog Roskomnadzor. The authorities say the purpose for this sovereign internet is to ensure the rights of Russian citizens, so that no political circumstances or external threats can deprive them of the internet, this crucial source of communication.
What is the sovereign internet for? To create a system that would allow the Russian internet to function, even if external threats like disconnecting from root systems and so on are attempted. We're not creating any separate Russian RUNET, and we're not trying to break the internet into parts. We're trying to ensure its autonomous operation in case of external disconnection. As you know, all root systems are located abroad and managed from there.
According to Russia's Ministry of Communication and Mass Media, the draft law on the sustainable work of the RUNET, or the Russian internet, does not imply blocking popular services such as YouTube, Facebook or Gmail. Some people, though, think that the state wants to control the internet and can create a copy of the Chinese firewall in the country, but the State Duma rejected this assumption. The authorities say some critics do not know the proposals contained in the draft law, perceive it as a restriction of freedom of speech and a ban on criticism of authorities. But the authors of the draft law say that no one will limit the critics, but the criticism should become civilized without gross, obscene insults. How technically can Russia disconnect from the global network? We should wait and see. Yulia Shapovalova, RT.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.
Russia moves to grant government the power to shut down the internet. Explained. You know I'm going to say that again. Russia moves to grant government the power to shut down the internet. Explained. This story was done February the 12th, 2019, coming from MoscowTimes.com. And this is how it reads. Russian lawmakers advanced a contentious draft bill on Tuesday that seeks to give the authorities the power to unplug the national internet network from the outside world. Deputies submitted the measures to tighten state control over the internet in December, citing the need to respond to an aggressive U.S. national cybersecurity strategy. Although Russia's state media regulators and major tech firms backed the steps to unplug from foreign servers, experts criticized the bill as being too vague and impossible to implement. Here's what we know. Federation Council Senators Andrei Kalisha and Yudamila Bokovava, along with State Duma Deputy Andrea Lugovia, drafted the bill and submitted it to the State Duma on December 14. It drew fierce criticism from civil society groups over fear that it would lead Russia to follow China's example in establishing an isolated internet landscape. On Tuesday, the State Duma voted 334 to 47 in favor of the draft bill in its first reading. What is the proposal? Create an alternative domain name system, DNS, to protect the Russian language section of the internet in case it is disconnected from the World Wide Web. So far, no country has ever been deliberately disconnected from the internet. Russia flirts with internet sovereignty. Allow centralized control of all national internet traffic and minimize the transfer abroad of data exchange between Russian users. Install tools capable of identifying the source of internet control and traffic and limiting access to websites containing banned information. Delegates more power to Russia's Roskomnadzor, federal media watchdog, to oversee the bans and shutdowns. Is it even technically possible? Russia reportedly carried out drills in mid of 2014 to test the country's response to the possibilities of its internet being disconnected from the web. Plans are reportedly underway to conduct similar tests as an unknown date by April 1st. The secret tests reportedly show that isolating the Russian internet is possible, but that's everything would go back online within 30 minutes. Internet expert Andrei Soldatov cited the shutdown of mobile communications during protests in the regions of Ingushetia last fall as a small-scale success. The draft bill, he says, will allow the security services to install the so-called kill switch for internet communications nationwide. How much will it cost? Russia's 3-year budget has reportedly already set aside 1.8 billion rubles, which is 27 million, to kickstart the project, with more money needed for later implementations. Senator Lishchas, the bill co-author, said upwards of 23 billion rubles, 350 million, has been earmarked for the bill. However, the Russian Government Expert Council, which reportedly predicted major disruption with the implementation of the bill, says the cost could skyrocket to 134 billion a year. Will it pass? Legal initiatives advanced by high-ranking officials have a history of success in Russia's legislative process. Supporter notes that the Internet Sovereignty Bill will be significantly amended by March 13 before entering a second reading. The revised bill will then need to pass 2 more Duma votes, a vote in the Upper House Federation Council, and secure the signature of President Vladimir Putin before becoming law. What will it mean? Roskomnadzor will have an easier time blocking banned websites, according to Bell business outlets. The bill writes that if the Telegram messaging app enjoyed relative success in bypassing a 2018 government ban, this bill will allow Roskomnadzor to go after the app directly. If the bill passes its current form, internet providers and telecom firms will likely face new difficulties, while users could see increased restrictions on internet freedom, the outlet writes. Nevertheless, the bill supporters are adamant that it's aimed to secure instead of shut down the internet in Russia. All right, so you see there again, it's brought out right off the bat. Russian moves to grant government the power to shut down the internet. Explained, and that was the article. And prior to that, you seen the video where it talks about on RT is that there are planning in Russia to have a shutdown by April 1st. Now, again, I'm not sure whether the Russians celebrate April Fool's Day, so that may be an implication there. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody might know. I didn't actually look that up. So, again, I did hear April 1st is when they want to try to do it, so they could do it March 30th or 31st, the 31 days of March or 30 days, and just pull it right before, maybe, again, as the show going, I'll show you that had already done happened in other places. So, according to what they're stating in the video, they said that the measures was to prepare for the country for a cyber attack, right? So they want to prepare. So, how to move and maneuver if there should be as they say, a kill switch that actually can cut off the internet nationwide, right? And so they want to actually try to create for themselves what they call a sovereign internet, right? Because they feel like that the way that the internet has the internal ability, because again, you would think that the countries that are tied to the internet are actually to be able to control the internet, but they, according to what was stated in there, said that the internet actually would be foreign to those nations, which means that somebody else outside of them could actually control or sabotage, as they say, right, and or redirect any of the activities, right? And then again, you see that all these nations, again, those who've been astute and watching what's going on, a lot of nations are having a lot of problems when it gets to now to the political aspect, because again, it seems that again, what we would talk, I don't want to go ahead of myself, but let me stick here. So we see that some of the residents of Russia are saying, well, it seems like you preparing to actually have it where you can restrict freedom of speech, right, by having this kind of sovereign internet, right, and which would be actually detaching yourself from the global network, right? So again, accordingly, what this Satan here says that China has already implemented that, and again, those who are avid watchers of the show, we seen the hearing, and then again, you heard that the CEO had talked about them helping them to establish what I guess that system, right? And so when you look at that, you have to say, now, could that be a defense move, right? Because again, when you in the article, it talks about that they said that there was an aggressive U.S. national cybersecurity strategy. Right? They feel like that the U.S. is going to use it because again, remember there had been the allegations, right, about the collusion with them and sabotaging the 2016 election. And so it seems that the focus now is all about social media and the power that the social media is having. And so a lot of people are working in cahoots trying to get some restrictions and also having full control as a country. So it seems like this is what Russia is seeming to do, and it's seeming to giving it to the government to actually have the power to do that, right? So I don't want to get too deep in that because again, it's the simple fact that's another country outside of my own country. But again, this is the startup of this show to let you know that in Russia, this is what's going down, coming at least by April 1st, right? So they're preparing for something, right? So again, being here, DOS, right? ADOS, BADOS, right? And then again, just being as a content creator on YouTube. And again, YouTube and its vastness, there's different subjects and topics, and there's different kinds of, shows and people and talents. And I mean, you just got one big just globule of just whatever your interest in, you can pretty much find it, right? You got somebody out here that said there's something for everybody on here, right? And some people are more than others, again, according to numbers and subscribers and so forth, and then they're following, and then so there's a certain aspect of power that comes with that. And so based on what done transpired again in the black corner of the internet, some of that has been displayed because again, people seen the opportunity to use their platforms again in the way that a platform should be used. It doesn't have to be in the most detriment form, but it could be used in a way that would be in a beneficial way. Now again, as black people, DOS, ADOS, BADOS of this land, we as these people have been outside of the loop for primarily our inception of history in this land. Excuse me. And so what you have is that you have a generation who's come up who are a little different than the generation prior before it, and try to instill a different mindset of how to maneuver and move, because again, out of the lack of what we've been benefiting, or we have not benefited from being in this land, other than the crumbs and the pennies that the king may throw out the window. So collectively, even though we may not be a one movement in unison, but collectively, when the agendas and the things that are being said and the collectiveness of the people are a power. And so when we all get on code, as they say, or part of the agenda, then that becomes a movement. And so when you've seen the Kamala Harris situation, again, in this later on in this show, we will touch that. But when she came out and made her run, announcement of her going to run, and the things that had been said prior to her coming out is the reason why I think this is a more manifestation, because again, when people ran on the platform was talking about they was representing a particular people, and I will say DOS, ADOS, BADOS, that walk like, talk like, sing the Al Green like, got the wife like, but then when it came to what people are talking about 2020 intangibles, when you talk about the intangibles, we were holding the bag like in Charlie Brown got a rock in the bag. You remember that episode in Charlie Brown on the Halloween series? And they all was holding their bag and people giving the candy, but this one, I believe, was the black one, right? He got the rock in the damn bag, right? And they was supposed to been funny and shit. But that's the way we've been getting a rock in the damn bag. So we're tired of getting the rock, and so we're using the way that every other nation is, even though people don't consider us a nation, you know what I'm saying? And because we're trying to do that, people are offended with it. And so the power of these platforms and the people who are on there are steering their people away from what the social norm is not to have any idea, just to go along, get along, and just get the vote, and don't worry about none of that. That's none of your business. But now that is becoming a business, it is rubbing people in the wrong way. And so now that you keep hearing this new mantra resurfacing itself, it's called fake news. Right? So now people are stoking up the tag of fake news to the fact that they're now having to convene. And this would not be the first time that they convene. They convened the first time, which again, if you watch this show, you knew that they did this. Well, they're going to do it again. So let me show what I'm talking about, and then let's move on, right? Do I need to do a PSA? No, but I'll do a PSA on the next one. All right, I'll do it on the next one. All right, so we're going to go here, and let's get it.
Some of the world's most powerful tech leaders are being called to testify before a panel of international lawmakers later on this year. The committee is demanding to hear from tech giants as it investigates disinformation, fake news, and election meddling around the world. The hearing is scheduled for May 28th in Ottawa, Canada. So CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates broke the story and is joining me now. Thank you so much for joining us, Graham. So we've got this committee. Just how significant is this? Because I don't think I've heard of anything like this before.
It's fair to just say it's unprecedented. Okay. I mean, how often do you hear about parliaments from around the world getting together because they all have similar grievances with the same set of companies?
Right.
They decided at some point, these companies aren't meeting with us because we're smaller countries. We need to just get together and say, we have now a huge population under our wing, and we want to meet with you because of all of the problems we're experiencing.
That is very interesting. So it's being held in Canada. It's an international committee. But a lot of these business owners, these tech companies, they're American tech companies. Are there going to be American lawmakers questioning them?
There may be. I spoke with Bob Zimmer. He's a Canadian member of Parliament who's one of the co-chairs of this committee. And he said they do intend to invite American lawmakers, but he wouldn't tell me just who yet.
Okay, so the title, it's got quite a title. The International Grand Committee on Disinformation and Fake News. What exactly now are they investigating, and what do they want these tech leaders to talk about? What information are they hoping to get out of them?
Ultimately, they're looking into some of the same things that our own lawmakers are looking into, disinformation campaigns and election meddling. And the complaints, because it's different countries, they all vary just a little bit. So London lawmakers are looking into issues related to Brexit. But at the last hearing, we heard from a Singaporean leader who wanted to know about a viral post in Sri Lanka that called for the execution of Muslims. He said Facebook had been notified about it and the post was never taken down.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is we've been concerned about election meddling and sort of influence campaign, nudging people to become concerned about issues that maybe they would not have been on their radar before, if you will. But in other countries, we're talking about people being killed in the street. We're talking about violence. I mean, the kind of influence that we're not just talking about tipping an election. We're talking about destabilizing a whole country in some cases, right?
Exactly. So that's why the people that they're asking for it, they control the companies that largely control the entire internet, the pathways from site to site, and the largest social media sites and search engines.
Right. So this is the second time that they're gathering, I suppose. I don't even know I don't recall the first meeting. What happened with the first meeting?
That was in London on November 27th. And
so that was just last year?
Yes.
Okay.
And they had invited Mark Zuckerberg. That was the main show. They really wanted him to attend. He said no. Instead, they sent Richard Allen, who's a vice president at Facebook, but is also a member of Britain's House of Lords. So
now I remember, yes.
Really regional person.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to answer a lot. And the people at the committee were just, I mean, they just yelled at him the whole time because Zuckerberg wasn't there. And he was sitting next to an empty seat for Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, and I remember much of the yelling was about why isn't Zuckerberg here?
Yeah, really hours of it until we got to some of these meatier issues like the post about Muslims, which was brought up by the Singaporean representation.
So then, you know, at the end of the day, though, can a committee like this really force, you know, a Facebook or an Amazon or whatever it may be? Can they force these huge tech companies to alter their ways, to do more, to intervene?
Well, I think the first step is just getting there to talk about it, getting them there to talk about it. What I do know is that the Canadian members of Parliament do have subpoena power. At this point, I asked them about that. They said, we're not going there yet, but they do have the ability to issue subpoenas to these people if they say no to the invitations.
I'm sure they do not want that to happen. Graham Cates, thank you very much.
Thank you.
International Fake News Committee to demand testimony from tech giants. You know I'm going to say that again. International Fake News Committee to demand testimony from tech giants. This story was done February 15, 2019, and this is how it reads. An unprecedented group of international lawmakers investigating fake news is set to demand a public meeting with an extraordinary collection of leaders from the world's largest tech companies, the International Grand Committee, a collection of members of parliament from countries around the world investigating disinformation, fake news, and election meddling, is set to hold its second hearing on May 28th in Ottawa, Canada. On Monday, the committee will invite Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, COO Sheryl Sandberg, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and Eric Schmidt, the former executive chairman of his parent company, Alphabet Apple CEO Tim Cook, and COO Jeff Williams, and WhatsApp co-founder Brian Acton. The list, which was confirmed to CBS News by the committee's chair, Canadian members of Parliament Bob Zimmer, includes several of the world's wealthiest people who control the most dominant companies in computing and social media. For the committee's first hearing in London on November 27th, Facebook sent Richard Allen, the company's vice president for public policy, and members of Britain's House of Lords, who sat next to an empty chair reserved for Zuckerberg. Zimmer said for the next meeting, the committee will not settle for lesser regional representatives. One thing that will not be acceptable that I want to have on record is that Canadian representatives are not going to suffice, Zimmer said. They're not the real voice of leadership in the companies, so we're looking at getting specifically the names mentioned to come. The lawmakers who attended the November hearing hail from UK, Canada, Brazil, Latvia, Argentina, Ireland, Singapore, France, and Belgium. Zimmer said this time around they will also invite U.S. lawmakers to attend. Zuckerberg is the only member of the current list who was previously invited to appeal before the panel known as the International Grand Committee on Disinformation and Fake News. He repeatedly declined. Instead, they grilled Allen on issues ranging from disinformation on the social media sites before the Brexit referendum in 2016 to a campaign in Sri Lanka calling for violence against Muslims. The final report from the UK investigation is expected to release in the next few days. It has sought to shine light on the use of intimate personalities data sets on more than 80 million people as part of advertising campaigns surrounding the Brexit campaign and Donald Trump's presidential run. The campaigns were run by a British company called SCL Elections, its American affiliate Cambridge Analytica, and the Canadian company called Aggregate IQ. The upcoming hearing on May 28th will focus on holding digital platforms to account for an influence in our democracies and data as a human right, according to a February 7th press release. All right, so we have the International Fake News Committee to demand testimony from the tech giants, right? And so that was the article, and then what you've seen originally was the news video of having the individual who actually broke the story. And again, this committee that they're going to convene on May 28th will be the second time that they had done this. Originally, they did it back on November the 27th of 2018, so they're now going to come back and convene in 2019 on May 28th. And accordingly, that it was the parliaments getting together, collaborating together, because accordingly they were small parliaments, and then collectively as the numbers that they would bring these tech companies together, again because of their problem seems to be about disinformation, right? Fake news. Now, what is qualified as fake news? Would Mr. Blows Your Mind be considered fake news? Yet, Mr. Blows Your Mind get the stories that are written from supposedly accredited websites, right? You say journalism, right? And so, what would be considered fake news? Right? So that has to be redefined, because again, anybody can be labeled. I mean, there's people who watch the general media and say that is fake news. We done heard that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has said many times that a lot of these news stations are fake news. So what classified as fake news will probably have to be determined, right? But it don't seem like it's more about this, more about social media. So we see that they're going to get convened in Canada, or Ottawa, Canada, as I said on that date. And they're going to invite the American lawmakers, right? So again, American lawmakers, again, they will not be disclosed on who particular they will be or what department of the government that is going to be. But they're asking or requesting them to actually be there, because again, as some of the problems that these nations with parliament are having, right? Would they say disinformation? Or is it just the fact, as I said earlier in the beginning of the show, that again, social media and the platforms collectively moving in unison may be going against the social norms of that which wants to control everything. So they decide that they're going to convene and try to come up with some ways, because they say that the disinformation and the election meddling is what is being stated. Now, again, if you've been reading, you're seeing in Nigeria's having problems. You have some in the Middle East having problems, right? You have Russia's having problems. You see Europeans having problems. The United States is having problems, right? So they're saying that there's a global problem happening, and they're now trying to convene to try to come up with some ways to counter it. And they say that the people with these influence campaigns, right? It would be the same thing again as I was talking about with the Kamala Harris situation. Based on the platforms that are in the black corner of the internet, the influence that is having to actually bring light and make people actually think about instead of blindly just going with the flow with the status quo of same old, and making people actually use their minds to think is going to be a crime, right? So they're going to come with ways to think how to counter to make what we do. Again, they said something about accountability to the platforms for if you're be deemed disinformation. And so they're saying it was the insurgencies of big platforms. The insurgencies of big platforms. Again, as I said, there seems to be a spirit of, again, these channels did not originate as in unison, right? They were all individuals who decided that they had something or they want to present something. But as the spirit seems, again, after we done had the wolf moon, right, and the new year and so forth, right, that a new energy and spirit has hit the planet. And it seems that the spirit is guiding and moving and making a, Voltron to change the old guard. And so the old guard is seen to be now in a counter, trying to convene to come up with a tactic to counter it. So he's seeing Russia, that Russia decided that it wants to have sovereignty internet, right? Controlling its own, as China, again, I think is under the same thing. And so they said the way that they're trying to do it is under of a cyber attack, right? So these parliaments are saying, well, we need something as well, since that our internet comes through you. It is the tech companies that we need to convene with and lay down our grievances, and then you tell us what it is you can offer us, and we're going to tell you whether we want that or we have some other, ideas of what we would like you to implement if it's possible, right? So again, remember those who were around when they did the change before. It won't be long, there will be another change again coming. And so, they said they called it the international, what they call it, the Grand International, what they call it, the International Grand Committee, right? Sound like the Grand Guard. That was, again, to those who heard me read about the Pope's letter, right? The Guard, right? So now they got the Grand Committee, right, to convene. Now, again, if you understand the history of it, then again, they say in Parliament, but again, look like you're going before the Queen, right? That's, again, you're going before the Queen and them, and they got issues. So again, this is a collaboration, and we need some things done here. So I got more on this show to tell. I don't want to get past that, but again, there's an international convention to convene about there's a problem with, they claim, fake news, disinformation. Election meddling is the mantra, but the true dynamic, you have to continue watching to see what it might possibly be. So now, those who might not remember, right? You probably have forgot. Do you remember that we here in the United States, they did a test run already? Remember, a lot of you might have forgot about that. It wasn't that long ago, right? It wasn't that long ago when that happened. You don't remember, do you? You don't remember when, there was an inconvenience about an hour. You forgot about all that. That was a test run then. I seen on a platform where somebody was alive and a stream, and I was watching, and the question came up, would they ever just shut it down? Well, this individual was like, no, they would never shut it down, for the simple fact there's too much, tied into where the system is kind of becoming dependent on it. The system may be dependent on it, but that don't mean they won't make, again, they put it to you like this. I am the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Now, why do I say that? I have 2.9 subscribers. This channel can't get past 100 viewers. No matter if I stream 90 days straight, 3-4 hours of stream, sometimes 2 times a day, also doing uploads, right? Being banned for 90 days without any explanation to why he's being banned. You use a 10-second clip to give me the 90 days. So you have to say, then what is it that I'm saying, or what is it that I'm doing that feels to be so threatened, again, that you say they can't deter you? Well, I am your example. I am the experience. You would believe that because you see that my numbers are low, that for some odd reason no one wants to watch this show. It's only because I've been put in the dead end. So what I'm trying to get you to see is that is going to be, most channels is going to fall off and get into the dead end. I am your example to tell you this. I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. And what I know is for a fact. You can do your own research. Go into your search engine, put in Mr. Blows Your Mind. You're going to see I Blows Your Mind, I Blows Your Mind Diet. You're going to see all this, and when you click on it, it's going to take you to a channel called Maddie Crumb. Who is Maddie Crumb? What does Maddie Crumb got to do with Mr. Blows Your Mind's channel? Why is it that Mr. Blows Your Mind has a URL, but if you don't spell my name directly, fully, accurately, my name will not be shown? And if you do put in, Mr. Blow Your Mind, it'll show Mr. Blow Your Mind song. So who in this system decide to say that this individual will not be heard, this individual shall not be known, this individual? So if they can do it to me, you better bet your last bottom dollar, your last penny, they're going to do it to you. So let me show you something else, right? So you don't remember, you may not remember. And so since I did that, you know, I got to go ahead and do my PSA, right? Let me go ahead and get the PSA out the way. I'm going to get that PSA out the way, right? For those who might be hearing me for the first time, sitting there, you know, I'm a man on the corner sitting with a cup in my hand. Let me hold something, huh? Let me hold something. Check this, let me be right back.
Google-owned YouTube suffered a major outage last night. The website was down for almost 2 hours. RT's Sarah Montez de Oca joins me with the story. And Sarah, there were some very upset, very scared people last night when they realized they didn't have their YouTube videos.
Scotty, this is the world's second most visited website. YouTube is a service that many people nowadays even pay for. So you can imagine the shock and blow up this caused. And even a Philadelphia police officer had to tweet it out that said he was receiving 911 phone calls.
Okay, that's
so
wrong.
It was quite
that's
obsessive.
Wrong, yes.
So just yesterday, Google-owned YouTube went down for over an hour. The second most visited website in the world experienced an outage late Tuesday night. Users took to social media in outrage. YouTube took to Twitter apologizing for the inconvenience, but gave no reason for what actually caused the outage. Earlier this year, YouTube TV, a paid live streaming service, was down for around 40 minutes. This was during a 2018 FIFA World Cup game. The online outage has been just the latest, this in a string of concerning headlines for YouTube parent company Google. Building on our coverage last week in what's been a very controversial step, it now looks like Google plans to move forward with a censored search engine in China. Google CEO Sundar Pichai took the stage on Monday at Wired 25 Summit. He acknowledged that they tested the software in China. Pichai doubled down on the search engine codenamed Project Dragonfly. He said that there's potential to expose the world to more information. It turns out we'll be able to serve well over 99% of the queries. We are compelled by our mission to provide information to everyone, and China is 20% of the world's population. Pichai wants to make information universally accessible. And following Google's 20th birthday, he says they feel rejuvenated about working on a core problem of information. And in order to globally expand, they need to follow laws in every single country, including China and their censorship policies. Now, this comes a week after Vice President Pence slammed Google for appeasing China.
More business leaders are thinking beyond the next quarter and thinking twice before diving in to the Chinese market if it means turning over their intellectual property or abetting Beijing's oppression. But more must follow suit. For example, Google should immediately end development of the Dragonfly app that will strengthen the Communist Party's censorship and compromise the privacy of Chinese customers.
But Pence wasn't the only one with criticism. In August, Google employees wrote a letter to their employer, and they addressed their concerns and ethical responsibility for transparency. More than 1,000 employees signed that letter. And just last month, 7 Google employees reportedly quit their jobs. This due to the lack of transparency over the controversy. But this also isn't the first time that Google looks to China for new business. Back in 2006, Google had set up shop there. And in 2010, the tech giant announced that it was leaving China. This was after Google discovered a cyber attack from within the country, targeting Google and dozens of other companies. But after nearly a decade of growth and expansion, the company is poised to try again. Scotty, there's no word as to when the product will actually launch, but sources are saying that this could be ready in anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
Well, I guarantee if it goes down, though, the Chinese will not be calling 911. At least they learned a good lesson from the U.S. Thanks, Sarah.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.
It wasn't just you. YouTube went down worldwide, causing massive confusion. You know I'm going to say that again. It wasn't just you. YouTube went down worldwide, causing massive confusion. This story was done in the USA Today, October 17, 2018. This how it reads. It said it's not just you. YouTube went down worldwide. The mega popular video site went offline Tuesday night for users around the world. Visitors to the YouTube homepage were greeted by a half-loading page that showed the subscribed channels but no videos. Clicking on any channels resulted in users being greeted by a picture of a monkey holding a hammer and the text 500 internal server error. A message read, "Sorry, something went wrong. A team of highly trained monkeys has been dispatched to deal with this situation. If you see them, send them this information as text. Screenshot frighten them," followed by a long string of code. In an update post to Twitter, YouTube said it was aware of the issue, though didn't provide details on when service would be restored or what caused the outage. Roughly an hour after the site first went down, YouTube returned to Twitter to say that all was back up and running. Needless to say, the internet was not prepared to deal with this. Users flocked to Twitter with hashtag YouTube down, quickly rising to the number 5 spot on site's trending topics list in the United States and the top trending topic on Twitter worldwide list of trends. Some laminated that this is how the apocalypse starts. Others were trying to figure out what to do with their time. YouTube is incentivizing vloggers to promote conspiracy theories. You know I'm going to say that again. YouTube is incentivizing vloggers to promote conspiracy theories. This story was done in the Vice, February the 15th, 2019, and this is how it reads. YouTube has long positioned itself as an alternative platform to mainstream media, but in at least one crucial way, that might not be such a good thing. Researchers are starting to understand that the structure and model of YouTube as a platform helps contribute to conspiracy and far-right content creations. Motherboard reporter Caroline Haskins found that many YouTubers have realized fringe content is successful on the site, and because they're rewarded with engagements and viewers, which means in turn cash, their incentive to create more and more extreme videos. On this episode of the Vice Guide to Right Now podcast, we sit down with Haskins for the full story and learn why problems is so difficult to solve. You can watch the Vice Guide to the Right Now podcast on Acast, Google+, Apple Podcasts, Stitchers, or wherever you can get your podcasts. Sign up for the newsletter. All right, so those who probably don't even remember, that was back in about October. I think it was October 17th on a Tuesday of 2018, when the internet went down for about an hour. Those might have remembered that. YouTube was down and people were trying to upload, people were trying to watch, right? And it went down. Now just imagine that was October 17th, and then they went, supposedly it was supposed to be in the meeting, again, the original meeting was November 27th. So maybe that was to show them, see, and when they went to the meeting, we're going to be able to disclose, I see, we do have some capabilities where we can actually shut it down if we need to, right? And so, matter of fact, there was a lot that had transpired. Matter of fact, to be exact, how about this? FYI, when they did that day, when that went down, I believe that was the day that they had that hearing for the Vatican as well, too, right? I think that was the hearing of the Vatican. So just by coinkydink, as they say, coincidence, coinkydink, that manifests itself. But again, what you see is that the power to control. So some people believe that they would not have a kill switch to cut it off if they need be. They will. There's times that you can be an interrupting of your internet service. Like if you live in certain communities or a city and there's some person or some information that might be disseminated that may be pertinent to the community, all of a sudden your internet don't work. There's times where, you can watch a live show and you can hear the skip in something somebody says. Instead of it being a beep, there's a skip, right? So they have mechanisms in places to actually do that. And so that was the United States test run back in October 17 of 2018, the shutdown for that, right? And then you see that, just again, you just got to look. You just got to understand that, right? I ain't gonna get too deep in that. So says that there is that that was actually a international shutdown. It wasn't just, matter of fact, let me take that back. That didn't just happen in the United States. That happened all across the globe. So now you can see why, in one aspect, and I can't say the totality because I'm not Russian and I'm not a bot and I'm not part of any kind of espionage or anything of that. I'm just reading again as a media black source, or black media outlet source for those who are patrons of this show. That again, I read the news no matter where it takes me. And so for a country like that to be trying to get a sovereign internet, I think in its own sense, if you were a nation, and to understand that and see that somebody has a control aspect to your country, I guess it would be in a defense to that. But again, that could be just a smoke and mirror to feed to the public, again, having a control mechanism on them. So, but here, when it went down, a lot of people, again, they said people were calling 911, losing their damn mind. Hey, I got no. So again, like I said before in some shows prior, that if you're not from the school, when before there was this so-called technology, can you function without it? If everything goes back to manual, can you function? Or can you not function because of it? So that's why the people, again, I say that Generation X is the transitional generation, because they were at the point of time when it was analog to digital, right? It went from analog to digital. And so they understand what it is to not have when it was no cell phones, right? There was a time with just a pager. You just read a number, right? That was it. Go to a pay phone and hit it up or whatever. Cell phones was not as accessible as it is now. So obviously, this preparation has been long sought after, because again, no one could actually see the manifestation of the power that it was going to have. They thought, a lot of people, again, their interpretation of what they look at the lumpen pro chairs as stupid, useless eaters who are mindless, and that they have the, Simon says, ability to manipulate and control you as if you don't have your own mind, an automaton. And so, you know, to see that people are a lot more intelligent and smarter and can analyze, right? See, again, try to get too sophisticated, right? I'm trying to make up my own words, and I can do that. I can be Webster. Shit, fuck all that. But anyway, so to analyze situation and to break it down in interpretation of their own, because again, we are all the sum total of our own life experience, so we may see life in different perspectives, other than the way that, you know, again, minority and so-called majority being parents telling the minorities as children that mama and daddy gonna tell you what's best for you, right? You don't know what's best for you. We do, only in your own best interest, though. So they says that a lot of this stuff that they said that this article from what was it from again? They were from hold on, let me see that again. That was from, who was that from? Who was that from? I think that was from I forget who that was from. I can't remember. Okay, but I know that was, damn. Okay, slipped my mind. But they said that YouTube incentivize, right, meaning people get paid to promote so-called conspiracy theories, right? Now again, depending on who you are, how long you've been in the game, how much you've been reading, conspiracy theories is, again, the term that somebody on one aspect of it will use as a defense mechanism to dwarf off the fact that somebody who said the possibility, high probability, there's more preponderance than none, to say it's not, than to actually prove 100% that it is. They would rather make it to be conspiracy, right? To dwarf off, to make them to see themselves as loons. And there are those facts that those are people out here who are just spewing, again, disinformation, hatred, and so forth. Now, again, depending on what side of the coin you are. Some people could say that those in the black corner are spewing racism and hatred, when that would be far from the truth, but that's their interpretation. But can you lay the facts down to prove it? And again, rhetoric would not be considered that, because again, there's no power to determine whether you can do this or that and can't have this and can't have that. Now, it might be bigotry in some aspect, but not racist or racial, right? So anyway, so is that true that there are people, and again, would the black corner be considered conspiracy theory? Again, when they talk about, you know, the atrocities of history and what they have and what they're talking about, is that a conspiracy theory? But one other people can say about theirs and continue to, you know, inculcate that, whether you want it or not. And if you say anything in opposition to it, you become scarlet letter for life. So again, that to me, in the sense, when you say something as to saying like, well, you know, conspiracy theory can just be some way to just dwarf off the fact that somebody is saying something y'all ass just don't want to hear. So there are people who get paid on here again. So Do you use it as a break the glass case of emergency that we want to again try to bring some kind of, closure, or we want to segment off a side of the corner of the internet or some specific type of people by saying that and using that term? Well, that's to be continued or to be seen at a later date and time. As the most hated show in a black corner of the internet, I speak from not what I heard, but what I know. Again, been in the game for 7 years. One particular time in the game, I could get 200, $250,000, 50,000 and plus, 20,000, 30,000 plus. And every time that my video got to get to the momentum, you stopped and you discontinued or you blocked it worldwide. So now here's a person who's been in the game that long, and you want everybody to believe he can't get past 100 and tell me that you don't have your hand in play as to the reason why. Who y'all fooling? Who you think? See, that's because I am upcut from what that you are afraid that, again, the eventuality is you gonna have to face. So anyway, moving on. So, we're gonna change it up a little bit here, because this kind of broke as I was putting the show together, right? And we see again, the whole thing is about if you taking that stance about, again, can you make a conspiracy when it is a truth, but the truth is not beneficial in the sense that you want it. It goes against the stance that you want everybody to see yourself in the light as. So when that being said and done, and then it has to go through the litigation aspect of it, and then everything has to cards be laid down to show the facts, again, like poker. You can hide your hand, but if you have to put your hand down and show what you're really holding, can you still win, or are you just bluffing? And if you're just bluffing, then again, your only way of, again, remedy the situation is to compensate the individual. And then in the compensation, what you do, let me show you before I get into that. Let me show you here, because again, some people might have seen it, maybe not. Check this out. We should be right back.
Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have reached a settlement. You might remember the former 49ers quarterback and Eric Reid, currently with the Carolina Panthers, filed a grievance with the NFL, alleging that team owners colluded to keep them out of the game over their protests. It was back in 2016 that Kaepernick famously started his kneeling protest during the national anthem as a way to protest racial and social injustices, and things just took off from there. Well, today we got a statement from both parties saying they'd reached the settlement and and it's subject to a confidentiality agreement. They won't be speaking about it anymore, but that doesn't mean that all of you are remaining silent. We've had so many comments and shares since we first posted this on our 11 Alive Facebook page. So let's take a look at what you guys are saying. David saying that the NFL bought Kaepernick's silence with this one. Another comment coming in from Synovia saying that the settlement tells her that there was definitely wrongdoing from the NFL, but a different opinion coming in from Michelle. She says settlements are cheaper than dragging this on for years with lawyers and court fees and in the media. She doesn't think that the settlement means that there was any specific fault. This story has been going on for so many years. We've been following it with you, and we want to continue to hear what you have to say. Remember, 11 Alive is a station where Atlanta speaks, so join the conversation on our 11 Alive Facebook page. That's also where you'll find any updates in the latest developments.
The NFL said today it has reached a settlement agreement with quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick says the league colluded to keep him off the field the past 2 years following his sideline protests. Beginning in 2016, no settlement numbers have been given.
Anthem a moment ago, flanked by his teammates Eric.
I asked him at any point, did you think you may not get this opportunity again?
It takes to win. You see what you did right, and you have things to build on.
Not before I signed, but I've talked to a couple people about it. And as I said, I'm still evaluating the scope of our country, and I'll make that decision later.
Colin Kaepernick reaches deal with the NFL to settle collusion allegations. You know I'm going to say that again. Colin Kaepernick reaches deal with the NFL to settle collusion allegation. This story was done February the 15th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Former San Francisco 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have reached an agreement to settle his allegations that league's team colluded to deny him a contract after his controversial protest in which he took a knee during the national anthem. The league has also reached a deal with Carolina Panthers safety Eric Reid over similar collusion allegations. A lawyer for Kaepernick, Mark Garagos, tweeted that after discussions, the parties have decided to resolve their pending grievances. The NFL issued an identical statement. Details of the agreements are not public, but as the Associated Press notes, considering the lost salaries both players claimed and legal costs, the settlement could have climbed into the tens of millions. The resolution of this matter is subject to confidentiality agreements, so there will be no further comment by any party, the statement said. Kaepernick said he was protesting the treatment of African Americans and other minorities in the United States. He started his protest in August of 2016. When he became a free agent at the end of the season, he was not picked up by any team. He filed a grievance in 2017 alleging collusion among team owners to keep him out of the NFL. Quarterbacks scored a major victory last August when the NFL arbitrators agreed to move forward with a formal hearing of his claim. Collusion can be hard to prove, as NPR's Tom Goldman has reported, but to prove collusion, Kaepernick doesn't have to show every team is conspiring. It could be as few as 2 teams or 1 team, and the league agreed they want to keep out of the former Super Bowl quarterback. Kaepernick's protest inspired other players to take a knee during the anthem, sparking a political fury and major division between some players and team owners. Some fans interpret the protest as an attack on patriotism and the military, leading to boycotts. President Trump encouraged team owners to take firmer action against the protests. Kaepernick has also garnered significant acclaims. Last year, Nike announced that Kaepernick was the face of his famous Just Do It campaign. The ad shows a close-up photo of his face with the words, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." Reed also was not signed after the 2016 season. The Carolina Panthers picked him up in 2018. Kaepernick has praised Reed as the first person to kneel alongside him. Eric is a social justice warrior, continues to support his family and communities in need, he said last year. The NFL Players Association issued a statement of support after the agreement was announced. "We continuously support Colin and Eric from the start of their protest, participated with their lawyers throughout their legal proceedings, and were prepared to participate in the upcoming trials and pursuits of both truth and justice for what we believe the NFL and its clubs did to them," the NFLPA said. It concluded, "We are glad that Eric has earned a job and a new contract, and we continue to hope that Colin gets his opportunity as well." All right, so again, the story is about Colin Kaepernick. Has gone ahead and the NFL decided to reach a deal and settle the collusion allegations. And as you've seen in the clip there, you know, again, what they do is try to get a pulse, again, by feeding that. Again, are we to take that with those few, right? There was a few tweets that you took, and again, to make the segment of your broadcast, you had one person said that Cap looked like the NFL bought Cap out by settling, right? And so in that aspect, you know, if you ever been through the litigations of have to go through that, you know that in order sometimes to get the money, there's certain aspects that they'll make, again, like say in the situation, nothing can be talked about. It's part of the agreement, right? And so one person said, well, a settlement don't necessarily mean that they were wrong, but just the fact that it was time consuming, it cost money, and they would look at it and say, well, it would be better just to settle it than to just waste all this money. No, not in this case. You know why? Because again, according to what had been said, right, that let's say Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed were actually being unpatriotic, and that the stance that they were doing is not even part of the topic. No one wants to address that. And again, it's just a telltale sign of the internal aspect of the people who tried to use patriotism as a defense mechanism. Do I need to say that again? It is the internal showing of where your true heart and mind is, that you will not deal with the simple fact of what the stance of what they took is not to be even talked about, because of, again, you know what has and what is being done. So you would rather divert that by using patriotism, and then yet when you get into the court of law, you end up doing what? Settling. Because if what you said was true, it shouldn't have mattered. It's the principle. But there was no principle. Right? Again, I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. You can be working for places, and you can have not done anything. And when they talk about collude, people collude. And again, because they don't want you there, because again, you are kind of infectious. You and your ideology and what you stand for and what your the stance that you take can be infectious to other people who either border or never thought about it, and now you bring that to mind, and then they say it would be better for us to get rid of him and pay out, right, than for him to affect the rest of the league to have us to deal with this, because we don't want to deal with this. You know what it is that you're doing. So you hide behind the simple fact, again, you use public, you use the public, well, can't you say public policy? We're going to say public social media. debate with each other back and forth. But again, it's not official. And so you was able to do what you do to quell the situation, because when you settled, what's going to end up happening? They can't talk about what took place. Or there could be a forfeiture of their, whatever their, again, the sum total that they may have gotten. So can it be later put in the book? Only time will tell, right? Will he break the line? Only time will tell, right? So we see that Eric Reid was in 2018. He was picked up, I think, by the Carolina Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so Colin, I guess by next year, he should be able to go ahead and try out, right? But you done got the man to sit down for damn near 2-3 years now, right? So at this time, if you don't get in, you can say, well, he done sat out and he don't got it no more, right? You can say that now, right? It's kind of like Ali. He going to have to do what Ali did again. I'm not putting Colin Kaepernick in the same, let's say, stature of Muhammad Ali. I'm saying that the same position of, remember, Ali had to be incarcerated because he, again, spoke out against what he spoke out against. And so he ended up being inducted into, but he said he would prefer to even be locked up than to go and fight people who said they never called him nigger. And so after coming out and stripped of his belt and everything, he had to come back and regain the title after sitting out those years. Well, Colin Kaepernick was going to have to do the same thing here if they allow him to get back in. But since they done paid, and again, it leads to speculation as to, did they collude? Well, those of the black minds is going to say, yes, they did. We know they did. There's no there's not to allegedly did it, because if you had what you said, why would you not go through fully with it? If there was a point to be made, it should have been made. Money should have not been a problem, because it should have been the principle. But there was no principle. So again, we want to say to Eric Reid and Colin Kaepernick, they did what they had to do. They stood for what they had to stand for. And again, sometimes it's going to cost, right? And they was willing, and then at the end, they got paid out. But again, is the issue. We end up getting during the Super Bowl, as again I did the show that day, and remember we seen Andrew Young, Bernice King, and John from Selma was there, right? And prior to the Super Bowl, you had Donald Trump sign the bill, the reform. But again, we have to take the word reform. Does reform necessarily mean it had to be in the beneficial good part? Reform could be another strategic way of doing it to make it worse, or that it was worse than what it was before. So the reason I'm coughing, y'all, not because say this was somebody who's smoking and shit, and the shit is getting in here and that shit is irritating me. So I apologize for that. So again, you got one thing, but it won't be until time reveal whether those things that were done were beneficial or was just, again, a paper tiger, right? It's like a contract not written as good as the paper is not written on, right? So again, that's what that is, and we're gonna move on, because again, like I said, I kind of agree in the sense that you're getting paid makes the situation go away. It leaves the mysteriousness as to whether it was a collusion or not. But on the behalf of being the people, being black minds, we would say we know there had to be a collusion, even though, again, we didn't see no proceedings. So we had to say allegedly, right? They will make you say allegedly, because you can't prove, again, unless you go and get the records public and go through a sift through and find. But in the end, the players end up getting what the money, but again, the issue. See, when the people went out here and said patriotism, right? That was never the issue. And the problem is you never want to deal with the issue, because you understand and you know what you do. what has been done, what is systematically being done. But again, that is the fragility of mind. It's not better to say it so I don't have to deal with it. But let me tell you something. The Creator says you're going to deal with it no matter how you try to hide. The old song of Teddy Pendergrass, look in the mirror, there you are. You can't hide from yourself, 'cause everywhere you go, say it, there you are. You can't fake it. Huh? That's where it's going, y'all. Anyway, let's move on. At the 1 minute 30 mark. So let me get here. We're almost getting there. So this one here has been a very, very hot topic. You know why it's a hot topic? It's because, well, you came out the gate, said you was black, born in Oakland, went to the HBCU. You know, my job, again, don't pay no attention to that. Yes, I was a prosecutor, and that's what prosecutors do. And, you know, in those communities got a high crime, so it did what it had to do. And a lot of people sipped through it and was picking out, you know, sipping the wheat from the chaff. And they come to find out that, again, there was some shady business going on. And so what happened, the platform started to convene and disseminate the dislike. The constituencies and subscribers felt the same. And so when you came out the gate, it didn't come fair well. So you tried to come another route. You figured, well, you guys are that, but you guys are not as more popular than these guys, and these guys have got more to the streets than you do. Well, you kind of found it out the hard way, right? Because again, that's why they're going to have to do the convene. They're going to have to try to put some kind of crink in the line. You know what I'm saying? How you got a crink in the line, keep the water from flowing, right? They got to put a crink in the line because, again, the devastationness of this influencers are derailing the status quo of just Democrat and black, and you vote for me because I say I'm black. So this is what transpired the other day. I actually, let me tell y'all something. I actually had the original when it was on the CBS. And it was the Breakfast Club was there. I actually had it, and then they took it off. But let me play this and come back.
Comments from her radio interview with The Breakfast Club are sparking controversy.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
and I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
Harris explains her pro-pot stance and admits that she indulged in the substance while in college. Then this exchange happened.
What does Kamala Harris listen to?
What were you listening to when you was high? What was on? What song was
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac for sure.
People quickly jumped on what they saw as a contradiction, given that Tupac and Snoop Dogg were not producing music while she was in college. Harris graduated from Howard University in 1986 and later got her JD from the University of California in 1989. Tupac's debut album, Tupacalypse Now, came out in 1991, and Snoop's first album, Doggy Style, followed a few years later in 1993. So, if you're just listening to this piece on the radio, it sounds like Harris's memory is mixed up. Or maybe she lied about what her stoner jams were in an attempt to sound cool at a time when more and more Democrats, and even a few Republicans, are on board with legal weed.
You know, I'm not big into marijuana. I've smoked it twice in my life when I was very young, and the results for me was I did a lot of coughing.
I made bad choices. I got high without always thinking about the harm that it could do.
Well, you know, like most Americans over the last 10 years, people's opinion on this issue have evolved.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
So 40 years ago, I smoked marijuana, and I admit it. I'm sure that other people might have done it and may not want to say it in front of 25 million people. My mom's not happy that I just did.
But when you watch Harris's whole interaction on camera, the situation plays out very differently. DJ Envy asks Harris what she listens to.
What does Kamala Harris listen to?
Charlemagne then asks a separate question as an aside to the senator.
What were you listening to when you was high?
Harris politely laughs, but then makes eye contact with Envy.
What was on? What song was
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac.
So it's implied that she's answering Envy's question about what she listens to in general, rather than specifically what she listened to while stoned. Harris has been accused of pandering because of the way this played out. And it's not the first time a politician has been put in that position on the show.
What's something that you always carry with you? Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce.
So while Harris was trying to make her position on pot clear, she found herself in a pretty sticky situation.
Do it.
Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy.
We need more joy in this world.
Yeah, sure it does. Yes, it does. It gives people a lot of joy. If it gives a lot of people joy, then it don't matter if you admit it or not. Just say you did. What's all this? You did it a long time ago. Matter of fact, it's becoming legal, right? So we have to say, you know, again, I myself don't care whether you do or don't. That's not even an issue for me. I think a lot of people issues the simple fact that, again, they're saying, again, it's about, again, blackness and, again, your affinity, trying to say an African American. Again, on this show here, we have drawn the lines to say what a black American who really is the African American in this land. But again, we understand the colloquialism of trying to umbrella everybody that come here who are descendants from Africa. But again, there's a distinctness because, again, of the blood, sweat, and tears and toil that has been in this land for a specific type of Africans in this land, and we call ourselves black Americans. Some people call us DOS, ADOS, and I say BADOS, right? Because black is always first on my ADOS, right? So here it was, again, came out the gate, stated this, again, used the simple fact that your father was a Jamaican, which again, that would make you black. If he's black, Jamaican don't necessarily mean you're black, right? Think about that, right? Just because somebody say Jamaican don't mean they black. What is an Afrikaner? What is an Afrikaner? From South Africa. He an African, right? But he is a white person, but he can still say African, but he don't say African, he say Afrikaner, right? Yeah, the cons, right? He's a con ass nigga, right? So again, you can say Jamaican, but again, what is the ethnic back? Again, you know how you have some people who, again, you will ask them, and they're from some other, they say, well, I was born, this is what they say first, I was born in St. Louis, but my parents is Nigerian. I was born in New York, and my parents is from Asia, right? Right? So, where you born, does that necessarily make your ethnicity or who you are, or that's just the geographical location of the birthplace of where you came in at? Does that distinct you from the people who you came out from? One, the seed of your father in incubation through the 9-10 months of your mother. Does that distinguish you, make you not them, or that's just the geographical location? And so when you start speaking to us and then start saying things that we don't understand what blackness is, and if we should happen to go to a HBCU and was born in Oakland, see, you try to belittle our intelligence. And that's the thing is, it seems like everybody who you talk to who are, again, I'm not going to say all, I'm going to say those who do speak on behalf like that, they talk as if like black people are just the most stupidest people you ever encountered. But if you, I mean, even in some of the most lowest forms, street forms, brothers and sisters ain't stupid. Now, they may not speak the King's English, right, and have a full understanding of the Webster's Dictionary and etymology and things of that, but you can't run all that game on them. So it's not always that the fact that you can articulate words and disseminate and understand definitions that don't mean that you're intelligent. Because again, they say, well, IQ tests, right? But again, the IQ test is still made up by a specific ethnicity of people who say, again, it's like textbooks. Textbooks, you can't just write anything in a textbook and give it and they're going to put it in the school. It has a board that goes through to find and sift through to find out if this is going to be in our agenda according to the way we want it to be taught. So the same way would be a test. The test, you make it seem like it's unbiased, but it can be very unbiased due to the simple fact that certain people come out of different environments that's not accessible to certain things that the people who create the test may be more accessible to. So there's a disadvantage in that. So you don't put that into play, so you think that's a lack of knowledge or it could be like a lack of intelligence, whatever that may be. We, those going back, say wisdom, understanding, or overstanding, right? So, you know, so when you come out talking to us like that, you already got a lowbrow, looking you up and down, looking you like you small, right? Like, what's up with that, right? And so you come in belittling, and then you want to try to tell us what it is, and you in our land, Let me say that again. A lot of people be talking that stuff, and you not even in the own land of origin of where you derive from, and trying to tell us the game in our own damn land and our own damn house. How dare you do that? So again, you're going to get the backlash. So now you're going to be put under the microscope, and what's happening is everything you say and what you do now is going to be under the microscope. And the reason for that, and I think if you would have not followed behind somebody, if you wouldn't have followed behind somebody prior to you, you might have gotten away with it. But he made the standard so much higher for those who come behind that you're not going to be able to sneak by anymore. And best believe those other ones of the other side are looking and trying to figure out how to way if they should need, or matter of fact, I think the new strategy might be to try to find a way to get around, because these motherfuckers here is talking something that we are not going to address, because the one that came behind you and came out on MLK Day and all this stuff came out the gate too, and he flopped too, that now he also saying something that he ain't fucking with them either. So who was y'all when y'all first came out anyway? Who? See, See, when you come, see, okay, you went to grade school in Oakland. You was under the family of somebody who was black. Again, we don't know all that. We don't know whether house or field. We don't know that. And based on your encounter there and going to church, going to HBCU, makes you us again. Everything of my skin ain't my kin, and everything out of my blood ain't cut from the cloth. And so you can't do that anymore. The old generation might have let you get by. Gen X forward is not having that. They is a new day. They looking at this game entirely different. We looking at the way everybody else looking at the game. And so if you're not going to come to us the right and proper way, and you can't use our platform of our plight and history for your advantage, for your advancement, then you're going to have to go somewhere else. You're going to have to claim who you is and run off yourself. And that's just the bottom line of it. So again, what you've seen in this video here, you said some things that was very questionable. See, that's the intelligence of black people. See, what you think being on the streets is? You can't function and move on the street if you ain't got no kind of damn intelligence. You got to know how to move and maneuver. You understand? Motherfucker always trying to see if you slipping, catch you slipping, right? And so you thought you caught motherfuckers slipping. saying you said, okay, you smoked the weed. Okay, you was trying to get the points, right? You was trying to get the points. All right, you smoke weed like the average. They smoke weed. Now you got into the genre. Uh-oh. So when you were high, what are you listening to? You say Tupac. Now we know why you going with Tupac. We know why you're going with Tupac. Pac cut from the cloth, was represented by those who was part of some of the transformation coming up out that 60. Some of that is still resonant to this day. That's why those boule and bougie ass niggas is having a hard time dealing with the black corner, because they out of touch and they ain't connected like that. You the one who went to school. Nothing wrong with that. But don't look at the grassroots, those who suited and connected, as if like you got some precedence over them. Because again, some of y'all been in the business so long, when the first cat came in, like y'all, where was y'all at? Where y'all at though? Where was y'all at though? Some there talking about, well, you been there, you was sitting in the room, but what did y'all make him do? You didn't hold him to nothing. So now you expect us to still let you come again and come front us and go usher somebody in again? We like, nah, it ain't happening again. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Y'all slipped that one past the first time. It ain't happening again. So guess what? You get caught in the crossfire. You done messed up your whole campaign. Due to the simple fact of, we used to say, fronting. Matter of fact, LL saw the song back in the day when you say, LL, ain't no future in no fronting. Never was, cuz. Huh? Let me say that again. Ain't no future in no fronting. Never was, cuz. See? That's what he said in that. Huh? I would play, but they won't let me, you know what I'm saying? That's what he said. That's what LL said. Ain't no future, no fronting. So, you got caught up. There's no patching it up. You know what I'm saying? Trying to put your holes in this more. Every time you put a finger in a hole and the water keep coming out, you ain't got enough finger, toes, and hands to clog all the hole. It's about to collapse. So now what you're going to have to do, you're just going to have to run on who you are. That's what you should have did off the get-go. Let the people distinguish whether who you were. But don't come out claiming and as if like there was no litany test. You being vetted now. We went through that already. We let somebody go through because so-called wife come in, play hoop. Huh? He did say shit. He hooped. Tried to sing Al Green. Come want to walk like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Talking about, But the nigga didn't have the substance. It wasn't cut from the line. And then he could do anything he wanted. We done seen that game. We not going through deja vu. Moving on. Alright, so now we got here again. See, this is kind of what's done happened in this land. And this would be kind of a DOS, ADOS, BADOS. This is an internal thing. This is what we're fighting internally amongst us. This is the little internal war that you're seeing manifest when you've seen this display. So let me show you this first, and then let me show you what I'm talking about. But before I do that, let me go ahead and get another PSA in here. For those who sitting in here, sitting up in here, when you go ahead, you know what to do. You got to let something, right? Got my cup out. Let me hold something. Let me hold something, right? Be right back.
Telling you,
baby, he be saying it like I'm a problem.
Oh, you have been a problem.
Well, Steve, okay.
What was it? Let's go.
Let's go.
You started getting labeled as difficult.
Yes.
Why do you believe that happened, and do you see that changing, and why?
I got labeled as difficult. My husband and my husband is Sydney, who happens to be my manager. We got labeled as difficult because I said one word, and that was no. Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey. I said no to Tyler Perry. I said no to Lee Daniels, and I said no to Lionsgate. And the difficulty came in when people that look like me, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and I gotta put my brother Steve on the list. Y'all knew I was not wrong. Each one of you said to me, Monique, you're not wrong. And when I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt I was?
But Simone, now let me give you this. Because you and I had this conversation, I thought you went about it wrong. See, I felt that you had done yourself a disservice by the way you chose to go about it.
Tell me how I went about it.
I was cool with you, with your deal with Netflix. I was cool with you. The two problems that we had, number one, the boycott of Netflix, we never gave people a point of action. Okay, if we're gonna boycott, are we gonna not get subscriptions? Are we gonna turn it off? Or are we gonna go down there and get signs? The second point, what was coming to me was, this problem that you had in Netflix is rich people problems. Because they looking at us going, you talking about you didn't get millions, or you got this, you ought to be cool.
But when you say, Mo, it's the way you went about it, and I want to explain that, and I thank you for saying that. Inequality is devastating, and it's extreme. And when people said, Monique, do you think calling a boycott was extreme? You damn right. But isn't inequality extreme? So we've got to get to a place where we're unafraid to say it out loud.
Okay.
What I would have loved, what I would have appreciated from my brother was had you picked up the phone before you went on the air and said, Monique, you've burned too many bridges and there's nothing I can do. See, I would have appreciated had my brother called me up and said, baby, let's talk. Because you doing that was a part of me being difficult.
But not before that, though.
Yes, baby.
Remember the moment on stage?
Oh, yes.
See, now that right
was
there.
a wonderful moment, Steve.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, my goodness.
No, it wasn't.
That was one of those moments.
See, no, it wasn't.
That Richard Pryor whispered in my ear and said, say it. You say it.
Richard
because
Pryor did not.
I'm
tell you to say that.
Yes,
with
he
your
did.
crazy ass.
Oh, baby, yes, he did. Yes, he did. I do not regret, as I said on the Steve Harvey show, I do not regret one moment of that night on that stage.
No, in case you don't know, Mo told Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels to suck her private parts.
Not my private parts.
Well, you said if I had one, I want them three to suck my private parts.
Yeah.
It wasn't private parts on stage. So now, then I went, I quit breathing. I quit breathing for you.
I didn't.
What happened to you, Mo, was when you made that statement, the narrative got flipped. It wasn't about Netflix no more. It wasn't about Netflix no more. The attention was all off of where we needed to go. Huh?
That was before Netflix.
So good. So now when you bring up Netflix, it doesn't get no win, but you done just said this to these three people. And these three people, not because they're powerful, but because of who they've come. And what happens is, I told you, we can't cure darkness with more darkness.
What we can do is cure it with comedy. And what I'm not going to do, Steve, I'm never, ever going to waver from my comedy show on that stage. That's my gift, and that's my freedom. And what happens is, when you allow people to start taking your freedom and your gift and making it become what makes them comfortable, we then lose. When you called me with the morning show on the phone, I said to you, Steve, my family is suffering behind this. And y'all know I did nothing wrong. Y'all know my husband did nothing wrong. But none of y'all in real time, was strong enough to go publicly and say, we can't throw our sister under the bus.
Because, Mo, listen to me. We fighting two wars here.
What war?
There's two wars. It's what your issue is, and it's what the perception of the issue is, and the narrative has changed.
See, I'm hearing what you're saying, baby, and I agree with it when the narrative changes. But if all of y'all said, this is the only issue I have with it, baby, when all of y'all said privately, to include Oprah, all of y'all said privately, I've done nothing wrong.
When you tell the truth, you have to deal with the repercussions of the truth. We black out here. We can't come out here and do it any kind of way we want to. Listen to me. Your husband can't be the Sydney that he really is out here.
Let me tell you something.
That flexing, we got to flex a different way. We out here in a game. This the money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game. This the money game.
But
we in the money game. And you cannot sacrifice yourself. The best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them. You cannot help them.
We're in the money game. But let me tell you what the game is before the money game.
Like this.
Before the money game, it's called the integrity game. And we've lost the integrity worrying about the money.
But Mo,
wait a minute.
If I crumble, my children crumble, my grandchildren crumble. I cannot, for the sake of my integrity, stand up here and let everybody that's counting on me crumble so I can make a statement. There are ways to win the war in a different way. We got more right after this.
All right, now. So we have Steve Harvey and Monique. This been out there for a minute. You know, again, let things marinate again so I can get all the juices and the spices on it, right? And so I decided, I said, I'll go ahead and touch it, right? Because again, it's an DOS situation. It's really, in a metaphysical way, it is actually the two dynamics that is going on in this land that we call the United States. And it is the different views that one has, right? One side thinks one way, another side thinks another, right? And so, let's look at this. So, again, as it started off, you know, Monique already said, the way you talking, Steve, always sound like I'm a problem. He said, yeah, you are. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know, they warming it up, right? Warm it up, Chris. I'm about to. Warm it up, Chris. So as they get into it, you see that Steve says, well, you know, he was labeled as difficult. You know, that's a term that white folks, when they can't manage you, right? They say you're belligerent, right? Resisting, right? Boisterous, arrogant, all those terms, right? Difficult. Now, again, there are people who have co-signed and said they're working with her, that she may be, you know, not as affable, I think is the word they use, affable, right, as they would want her to be. Again, you don't control other people because, again, you don't walk in their shoes. You don't understand that the sum total of their life that makes them be certain ways. So, again, yes, there's a common courtesy in the way that you're supposed to deal with people, but, again, in this land that we've been in, again, some people have garnered and learned to adapt other people's perspective and ways, and so sometimes it's just how it is, right? And so you can be seen that way, not be so much of the simple fact that you're difficult, just maybe that you're not willing to take a lot of shit, everybody just shoveling at you. And maybe sometimes you're the type of person that's going to say what need to be said, not because, again, it's not, you know, appropriate, because, again, other people's feelings are being hurt because you're telling the damn truth. Some people not cut like that. Some people are cut to just tell it like it TI is, right? And so she explains, well, this difficulty that you're talking about is in reference to, I told these people no. Now, you know how it is. You know, again, if you're a parent, grandparent, or so forth, and you tell a child no, get a tantrum, stomping their feet, yelling and screaming. Because why? I'm not getting my way. Now, you know, this thing that they talk about, people got power and status. What the fuck is that? You got some money. Your name is in the little lights. And again, if you understand the dynamic and structure of this matrix that we in, and you want to be adhered to in some kind of status of importance, you done got lost in this. And I'm going to say that again. If that's what you feel power is, that your name is in light and that your feet walks on carpet and they say your name on announcement of a show, and that somehow you have some digits in the bank, makes you to be somebody that everybody must kneel and kiss the ring to, then you have lost your way. And so when somebody that you don't seem to be in the esteem of the stature of what you have or beneath tells you what they not gonna do, you have a problem. You can't tell me no. Really? So based on the circumstance of whatever transpired between her, again, that story has always been out there, that Monique, again, was supposed to go to a premiere due to the simple fact that they was not paying her and they wanted to come out of her own expense, right? And want to get some kind of, what they say, advance, right? But they wasn't willing to do that, and it was inconvenience and so forth. And again, she was like, no, I think I done earned, based on my credentials that I have lately gotten, that again, you could treat me with a little bit more than that. But no, they said no. So based on that, she said no, right? And so now these people that are having the connections to her have some influence in the black corner that they are in that industry, right? They're in the black corner, right? They're in the black corner. And so because she said that when she went against Netflix and, based on how that, whole turnout and called for the boycott of it, that a lot of people didn't like that. And again, being in the industry, one hand washing the other, so a lot of them can't, say things, because again, she says privately, right, the conversation that they had was that she was right. So when you're going in the back of the field, in the shed, you was right. Massa wrong. Yeah, man. Massa is wrong. You was right. Right? See, that's what she's saying. But she said specifically these people here, and you included, instead of you, what you said to me privately, and now that I'm labeled difficult, you who are affiliated in the same genre and know me, know my husband, instead of you coming on airing the laundry out on this show, you could have called me. You personally. Right? Because what y'all said you included with them was something entirely different. When that camera got in y'all face and that microphone got by that mouth, y'all was saying things that was different than what you said when you got me in the field in the back in the shed. You was right there now. She was talking in the color purple, boy. You was right there now. And so his solution, she said, now again, the reason why she's saying it is because she's saying, y'all cut from the cloth. You of the bloodline. You know what this is. And yet, y'all mad at me for the position that I'm taking. Right? You mad at me for the position that I'm taking. Now, he says, well, I wasn't mad at you. Matter of fact, I was actually down with the move you was making with them, but I just didn't know how you wanted to do it. Was we supposed to march? Were we supposed to, protest? Were we supposed to picket? What were we supposed to do? I was cool with that, right? I was cool. And she said, and he says, that was when he said something about the boycott points of action. Again, as I was just saying, right? And then the second part was he said, those are rich people's problem, right? Well, what do you mean by rich people problem? Meaning they don't want to cut you what you're worth. You're not supposed to negotiate what you deem value. Think about this. How is it? And again, this doesn't put anything less on those who do this. Those athletes, I don't know about entertainers, I don't understand. But we know as athletes, they can negotiate their contracts, right? But when you go to a job interview, other than it being already specified when you already applied, right? You negotiate. Matter of fact, you don't even get to negotiate. They tell you what it is. But I've known, again, because, you know, one of the taboos on the job is you're supposed to talk with each other about how much you get paid. Because you'll find out that your white counterparts always made more money than you. And you may have more criteria, education, and so forth, but there's a differentiating, just like if you work night shift to the other shift, right? But they got a white pay versus a black pay. And so what end up happening is you don't get to negotiate. They say what it is, and this is what you take the job or don't take the job. So here's somebody who feel like I have gotten a certain particular award that comes with a certain kind of criterion that gives me a certain kind of status, which gives me a right to ask for a certain amount. Now, whether you agree with it or not is another thing. But to come and to just lowball me that way, you was very disrespectful to her. Right? That's what it was. You were very disrespectful to her. And so, based on her stance there, he said it's a rich man problem. Right? And she did that. So, as I said, they're going to negotiate to give you the less because it's more profitable to them. If I can get you, let's say again, Michael Jordan was in the NBA for 10 years making only $900,000 a year. But look at the money and the revenue that the team was making based on his star status. It wasn't until after the 10-year contract that they finally gave him the $50 million for the 1 year, trying to make up. But that $50 million was not the team. The franchise was worth $200 million by the time he was leaving. So to throw him $50 million was nothing. That's why they ended up eventually giving him a team and so forth, right? So what I'm saying is, to negotiate with them to get more is because they already came with a price that they was going to give you based on, again, somebody beat you the first time. Let me say that again. The person who employed you the first time beat you. And then because you got beat like that, the second time motherfucker felt like he could beat you too. But you were like, nah, I got something more than when I came with originally with him. And they said, well, shit, you didn't come to him like that, so why you coming with us? So she got caught in that position. And so she decided to make the stance. He said, well, it's a rich man's game, right? Okay. So again, we understand that they want to pimp you. And so because of her stance, they said that was extreme to call that out, right? To call that. And they said, right, that to, you know, to do that was not in their best interest, is how you have to look at it. That was not in their best interest because, again, it's an industry. So in some aspects, some people can understand that. Right? Now it becomes off of that talk when it comes to about Netflix, and it gets back personal between him and her. And it says, again, there's that conversation. You shouldn't have went before on your show airing out that when you and them had already talked to me back in the shed. And he said, you know, that, you know, you could have called her, but you didn't do that. And so to divert that, which he knew he was wrong, right? He was wrong because he could have called her and had that conversation and not do it the way he did it. But it was good for fanfare, and it was the trending at the time, and he ran with it, right? He ran with it. So what ended up happening is that he changes the channel. He he now changes the channel from that situation that you could have called her instead of going on the air to the moment you went on stage. Did you see how he switched that channel? He switched the channel off himself. And she immediately says, but I didn't regret that. I didn't regret what I said and did that day. I meant it and I said it and I stand on it. Now you're going to come and use it as the reasoning other than the fact to address the fact that what you did by going publicly and saying what you said, but not having the audacity, as she mean, to call her about it. So now you diverting it off yourself, and now you're going to put it on somebody else. You're going to say this. When you got on that stage and you told them peoples that if you had this anatomy part, that they could suck it, right? Then you had the little joke, right, in it, right? And you told these 3 people, right? When you told them 3 people, and these 3 people here are the black corner of that industry that got a little pull, he felt like, well, you went about it the wrong way when you did it with them. And now, the statement that you did, you got hated on. Now, based on what took place, maybe that was the place she went. Maybe she could have did it a better way, but that was the way she felt. Then okay, she co-signed it. That's what it is. It is. Now, he says, based on what you did with that, right? The issue, perspective, and narrative have changed. Because why? These people who want you to kneel and kiss the ring are in cahoots. And in the background, you not knowing who they talking to again, as she said, she got blackballed. And so I'm saying this. We know how our people can be, this internal thing. Sometimes it can play out in that way. And the best way is, they say, revenge is served on a dish well served cold. Some people would rather see your ass in your coffin dead, watch you in your coffin, and say to themselves, now you suck mines. Is that what happened here? Should I say that again? Some people are saying is a revenge served cold is a dish well served. So based on the fact that you so-called publicly ridiculed them and they believe in the so-called status and power that they have, they wanted to show you that they can ruin you. That they will watch you fall into your grave, come up to your wake, look at you in your casket, and say to themselves, now you suck mines. And so, they get into it because he doesn't believe that you should have did that. And that's why he took the stance he did, is why he's trying to justify that, right? And you might be right, is what he's saying. But he's saying, this ain't a black game. This ain't a white game. This the money game. So, again, you are a boat in the water with no rudder, which means you can't control it. You go according to how the tide moves. Babyface said, what kind of man would I be? If I live unfaithfully? What kind of man would you be? Right? So, according to how everybody moving, I'm moving with them. Has nothing to do, because she says it's about integrity. Ooh. Integrity. It's not about money. You can't take it with you, but your integrity gonna go wherever you go, because you can't hide. Look in the mirror. There you are. You can't fake it. And what ended up happening is that fell out. And everybody got a chance to see it. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. And then the thing was, those people who were just like you was out there clapping. He got to say, oh, I can't crumble. My people that depend on me, and if that do that, and you can't help them people if you're gonna be poor like them. The best thing you could do is not be poor like them. She gave you some man talk that you didn't even have it in you. You showed something. Everybody done seen it. We already done seen it, right? That was some man shit she told you. The money game, huh? People dying and killing themselves over the money game, lost their integrity, and that's what done happened to us, because we done fell for the money game and lost the integrity game. And when we had the integrity game, we was a way better people. But you in this money game, there's only a few individuals who you dangle like a carrot in front of the damn horse, and then you try to say, see, be like me. And nobody want to be like that. Some of us would rather not have a goddamn thing. But the square that I stand and the truth that I stand on, that which created all that I stand before, I have favor. You only got favor by some people, again, that can perish like the wind. And when they go, it goes. Then where do you go when they throw you away, when you like trash to them? So integrity, after all that's said and done, she's still loved by black folks. You, my friend, and others, without your money, what you gonna be? So integrity. Integrity. We done lost that, y'all. That is the art of old. It's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. All that stuff, all them that talk about that money. Get money. Huh? Yeah, money is necessary. It is a sustaining aspect of life. But here you saying sacrifice you're not willing to do. And the people who came before you gave the most ultimate sacrifice. And you believe that you are helping in some form or fashion of way, because again, that same book that many of y'all claim y'all read says the evil man gives his child gifts too. He won't give his children a snake to eat too. So what makes you any different between the one who is evil and the one that is good? Those things that you do, they do too. But there is something that does separate you. And we, as those who are cut from that cloth, there's something that we must do while we here. And it ain't the money game. It ain't the money game. But you ain't figured that out yet. So Monique, in that aspect, you did what you had to do. And they gonna have to do what they gotta do. And money won't help them in the end. We're going to move on. Because I'm already at that 2 hours and 29 minutes mark. And so we're going to go ahead, because let me show you something as the end we're going to end the show on, right? See, the money game, as it was said, right? The money game, the integrity, right? Versus integrity, right? Let's see this here for those who might have remembered. And then again, understand what ADOS, DOS, BADOS is trying to stand on the integrity of our ancestors and what they can not longer speak on behalf. It is on the integrity of us to bring and remind and remembrance of what transpired. Okay? And so, let me show you this.
my fellow Americans, we gather here today to right a grave wrong. More than 40 years ago, shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, 120,000 persons of Japanese ancestry living in the United States were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in makeshift internment camps. This action was taken without trial, without jury. It was based solely on race, for these 120,000 were Americans of Japanese descent. Yes, the nation was then at war, struggling for its survival, and it's not for us today to pass judgment upon those who may have made mistakes while engaged in that great struggle. Yet we must recognize that the internment of Japanese Americans was just that, a mistake. For throughout the war, Japanese Americans in the tens of thousands remained utterly loyal to the United States. Indeed, scores of Japanese Americans volunteered for our armed forces, many stepping forward in the internment camps themselves. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team, made up entirely of Japanese Americans, served with immense distinction to defend this nation, their nation. Yet back at home, the soldiers' families were being denied the very freedom for which so many of the soldiers themselves were laying down their lives. Congressman Norman Mineta, with us today, was 10 years old when his family was interned. In the congressman's words, my own family was sent first to Santa Anita Racetrack. We showered in the horse paddocks. Some families lived in converted stables, others in hastily thrown together barracks. We were then moved to Hart Mountain, Wyoming, where our entire family lived in one small room of a rude tar paper barrack. Like so many tens of thousands of others, the members of the Mineta family lived in those conditions not for a matter of weeks or months, but for 3 long years. The legislation that I am about to sign provides for a restitution payment to each of the 60,000 survivors, surviving Japanese Americans, of the 120,000 who were relocated or detained. Yet no payment can make up for those lost years. So what is most important in this bill has less to do with property than with honor. For here we admit a wrong. Here we reaffirm our commitment as a nation to equal justice under the law.
George Key is represented by... I'm saddened today to think of those who did not survive and whose families will forever live with the knowledge that their death and suffering was preventable. Mr. President.
What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
Done by the Tuskegee study is much deeper than the wounds.
For only you, Mr. Shaw, the others who are here, the family members who are with us in Tuskegee, only you have the power to forgive. Your presence here shows us that you have chosen a better path than your government did so long ago. You have not withheld the power to forgive. Mr. Shaw, the others who are here, it is against everything our country stands for, and what we must stand against is what it was. So let us resolve.
5 times the United States officially apologized. You know I'm going to say that again. 5 times the United States officially apologized. These are a few instances where the United States admitted it had done wrong. This story was done in the Smithsonian.com back in May 27, 2016, and this is how it reads. This week, Barack Obama became the first sitting president of the United States to visit the Japanese city of Hiroshima. A U.S. president visiting the site where the first nuclear bomb was dropped is significant enough, but during the lead up to the visit, both American and Japanese officials were careful to make sure that no one expected Obama to issue a formal apology for the bombing. While there won't be an apology for the devastation the bomb caused in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in recent decades the United States has taken steps to apologize for more significant actions it took part in over the centuries. Here are 5 instances where the United States government formally apologized for its actions. Shielding a Nazi officer wanted for war crimes. During Germany's occupation of France in World War II, Klaus Barbie was one of the most infamous Gestapo officers, nicknamed the Butcher of Lyon. Barbie was responsible for overseeing the murder and torture of French Jews and members of the French resistance, as well as deporting thousands of Jews and non-combatants to the concentration camp. When the war came to an end, Barbie slipped out of Germany and fled to Italy, then to Bolivia in 1951. In the 1983 investigation spurred by charges from the French that the United States government had shielded Barbie after the war, officials with the United States Justice Department discovered that he had in fact been protected by several high-ranking members of the United States Army during the post-war occupation of Germany. Stuart Taylor Jr. reported from the New York Times. The investigation found that the Army had been using Barbie as a paid informant during the last few years of the war and helped him escape to Bolivia in order to hide this fact from the public. To do so, the Army lied in response to inquiries about Barbie's whereabouts, though the report found that they cut ties with the Nazi officers after relocating him to South America. In 1983, Barbie was finally extradited to France to face trial for wars of crime. The United States issued a formal apology for the hiding him later that year. The internment of Japanese citizens during World War II. The decision by President Franklin Roosevelt to round up Japanese citizens and imprison them in camps came just 10 weeks after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, but the effects resonated through American culture for decades. During World War II, 120,000 Japanese Americans and permanent residents were forced to abandon their homes and belongings in order to live under guard at several camps scattered throughout the United States, due to racist fear that these citizens were loyal first and foremost to Japan. Not only were Americans deprived of their homes and belongings, but they were offered little during the decades after the end of the war to make up for their wrongful imprisonment. Thanks to the activism of Japanese Americans like Yuri Koriyama, who was given a Google Doodle treatment recently in honor of her 95th birthday, in 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, which offered every Japanese American interned in the camps during the war a formal apology and $20,000 in compensation. The overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii. In January 1893, a group of American-born businessmen and sugar magnates staged a coup against a Hawaiian queen. Backed by American Marines, the insurgents forced the queen to abdicate and dissolve the Kingdom of Hawaii, setting the former island nation on the path to eventual statehood. While the coup backers quickly declared the country a new republic, their true goal was to annex by the USA. The true goal was to be annexed by the United States. They got their wish in 1898 when Hawaii was formally annexed by the USA and administered as a territory until 1959. 100 years after the seizure, Congress issued a joint resolution formally apologizing to the people of Hawaii for the United States government role in the coup on November 23, 1993, as the New York Times records. The Tuskegee experiment. During World War II, scientists working for the United States Public Health Service started one of the most infamous and unethical medical studies undertaken during the 20th century. The Tuskegee experiment started in 1932. Doctors working with the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama began conducting a long-term study on hundreds of black men to learn about the long-term progression of syphilis. The men were never informed that they were subjects of a study and were never actually given the medical treatment that doctors told them they were receiving. In exchange for the unknowing participation, 399 black men living with syphilis were instead given meals, free medical exams, and free burial service after their death. The study was originally meant to last 6 months, and it ended up running for 40 years. Long after the discovery of penicillin and other medical treatments for the disease, according to the Center for Disease Control, the experiment was uncovered by an investigation by Associated Press in 1972, resulting in a $10 million settlement with the surviving subjects. President Bill Clinton formally apologized for the unethical experiment in 1997. An apology for slavery and the Jim Crow laws. Few things compromise the core value of the United States Constitution, left a lasting mark on American society as 246 years of institutionalized slavery and the subsequent discrimination of the Jim Crow laws that mark African Americans as second-class citizens. As such, few people were more deserving of a formal apology than the millions of black Americans whose ancestors were forcibly brought to this country and had their freedom stolen from them. The formal apology for slavery and Jim Crow issued by the United States House of Representatives in 2008 was unprecedented. Even after decades of lawmakers trying to push the government to finally apologize, NPR reported at the time, that introducing the resolution, Representative Steve Cohen, Democratic Tennessee, noted that despite the government issuing an apology for interning Japanese citizens and later pressuring Japan to apologize for forcing Chinese women to work as sex slaves during World War II, the American government had never formally recognized and apologized for slavery. While the apology was primarily symbolic, by officially recognizing its role in perpetuating the horrors of slavery and Jim Crow, the American government took a step forward in addressing and atoning for one of its greatest wrongs. All right, so as we're talking about integrity on the last clip, so money versus integrity, or do you have to have both? So we as the DOS, ADOS, BADOS of this land, and the atrocities that have been laid, I decided to show those who probably didn't have no knowledge of or recollection of. Again, there was some apologies made accordingly, that they say, about what transpired. So when we looked at the situation again with Steve Harvey and I can't think of her name, Monique, should there have been an apology made on behalf of those who had wronged her? Maybe not the institution so much, but those other ones who helped to put her in that position. So, you know, no official apology means no recognition, right? So when we look at the history in this land, in this government, and understand that there have been some, let's say, marks of history that can be referenced when you look at when things are such an atrocity that there needs to be some, recognition of it, and also there needs to be some severance, some payment, right? So as you see, originally talked about Klaus Berber and the history about World War, and how the country at the time had, they say the word colluded to hibernate, to hide and, protect someone that was seen to have been on the opposition for whatever reasons they had. And again, to do that research, again, Klaus Berber, that's Klaus Barbie, and you'll find out that, again, how, again, there's always a protection for the complexion. The next one you seen, it was about the internment camp. What happened with the Japanese? Well known about many people that talks about reparations. But the one aspect about that is, when we talk about integrity, well, you might have given the money, right? And then they say they sent Barack Obama in 2008 to Japan. But they made sure, according to that article, that he was not to make any amends or what had took place with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? But it was there symbolically as a gesture without giving recognition. Was that integrity in that? So the integrity later, you see that President Ronald Reagan reparating what had happened with those in the internment camps, right? Giving them a compensation of the businessmen, because it's about business and property. Seems like the only way you get reparations. And even though it's DOS, ADOS, BADOS, or some people say we can't get it, I believe we have the claim in many forms and fashions. So they gave them $60,000 to 130,000 of them, right? For the wrongdoing that was done. Gave the money, but the integrity of what transpired was not given. So he moved to the Tuskegee experiment, well known by most black Americans. Did the scientific experiment with syphilis on our ancestors for supposedly had a duration of 6 months that lasted for 40 years because they didn't end up becoming known. Had cures, but just wanted to see the long, prolonged, and seeing the biological weapon that it could be used. So they did a commemorative of those who still were survivors of it to give some acknowledgement of what had been done, did the wrong, right? The symbolicness of it. But where's the integrity in it? So they said, well, 2008, they said they was representatives was trying to put together something to make some kind of atoning for slavery and Jim Crow. Symbolic, but never really official. Where's the integrity at? So the reason why is because the minute you give acknowledgement of what transpired, opens the door to be compensated. You know the video you seen the other day with the sister that was in talking about that with Jamaica and this reparations towards the Britain, that was part of it, right? Getting a full official apology for the wrong atrocity of what transpired. So ADOS, DOS, BADOS, put it on the plate. Put it on the plate. Of what you said, 2020 intangibles, put it on the plate. Because to recognize, to give a formal apology is recognition. We're doing all the remembrance, commemorating, but that who has the power to actually make a integrity move to make the do what's right is in the power. And so that this is now the time, here is something to put on that plate. Well, I want to thank those who sat and watched the show today. I want to thank you, each and one that should go ahead and click and give a like, dislike, comment, or whatever it is. You know, this is Black Minds TV. This is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. And the reason why, because we do it straight. No filters. Straight, without no ice. We don't put no pop in it. We drink it straight. Rub some people in the wrong way, but again, the truth don't need no partner. And so, as John Henry Clark says, as being ADOS, BADOS, we only got each other. We have alliances and allies that will recognize, and we respect you as well. And everything else that seems to not want to, you know, make amends. We don't need just atone. We need to make fruition the rights, the ills. If you want to live and get some integrity, it is incumbent that you should. So, again, when you see each and every one, give them that universal nod. You have love for your brother and your sister. Understand that what we go through on a daily basis. Understand the obstacles and all these spirits that are around us. We're surrounded. Those who are alliances that recognize and doesn't matter what you are, we give you a hand when needed. But at this point in time, in this day and time in history, and the way this country and the way everything is moving, it would be wrong for us not to be looking towards the future for that which is prosperities to come, and not to be trying to set any precedents for them. So again, this is Mr. Blows Your Mind, the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. And you know how we do it over here. I got to end the show the way it is. We're at the 2:45 mark, and again, I want to thank you again. To the next show, stay black, stay strong. And it is what it is. To the next show. Peace, love, and hair grease.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything. Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on. Definitely was not prepared for black people to in the end begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saved 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here? Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You have to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. There are only 2 possible explanations. They were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Can't control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking You can't make me do anything like Chris! Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil. and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true. I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today? And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I closed tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.